Okay, chapter 21 is called The Bridge. And here we go. They were in Maryland now, south on I-81, JD carefully keeping their speed just under the limit. Aidan dozed in the back seat, and Sarah, fighting fatigue, had been surfing the radio stations. As Mac had predicted, the strange story of the flying police van was attracting much attention. Finally, tired of listening to essentially the same report endlessly, Sarah switched off the radio. "We need a plan," she said. "I agree," said JD, "but right now I'm too tired to think. I need to focus on staying awake." "Will it help to talk?" "Sure." "Okay, then maybe you can explain something. Remember when the police broke down your door and they knocked me down and dragged me out in handcuffs?" "Yeah, I remember that." "Okay, well, just before that, you said you thought that E in Molly's diary was Albert Einstein." "Yeah." "And you said you thought you knew what the bridge was." "Yup. I don't know what good it'll do us, but I think I do. And if I'm right, I'm also pretty sure I know what the Starcatchers did with the island." "You do? Seriously?" "I do," said JD, "but it's going to sound weird." From the back seat, Aidan said, "We're being chased by a huge flock of birds inhabited by an evil being. We made a police van fly. Nothing you say is going to sound weird." "I thought you were asleep," said JD. "I was," said Aidan, "but you guys started yakking." "So, what did they do with the island?" said Sarah. "I think they moved it," said JD. I take it back. Maybe I am asleep." "What do you mean moved it?" said Sarah. "I mean they put it somewhere else, which is why nobody has found it in modern times." "They moved a whole island?" "Yeah," said JD, "and that's not even the weird part." "It's not?" "No, the weird part is where they moved it to." "I'm afraid to ask," said Sarah. JD took a breath and exhaled. "I think they moved it to a parallel universe." "What?" said Sarah. "I saw that on Star Trek," said Aidan. I know, said JD. "It sounds like bad science fiction, but I think that's what they did." "Okay, wait, let's even say that's possible. We're talking about, what, 100 years ago? They didn't even have technology like that." "True, but they had two things scientists don't have today. One was the most brilliant physicist, maybe the most brilliant scientific mind in human history." "Einstein," said Sarah. "Yeah, him." "What was the other thing?" said Aidan. "Star stuff. I haven't figured out what it is, but even in tiny doses, it appears to contain vast amounts of energy, and it has some really strange properties. Counteracts gravity, it radically alters emotions, who knows what else. I believe Einstein harnessed that energy to create the bridge." "The bridge in the diary?" "Yes, that's what I was trying to explain when the police broke down the door. In physics, it's called an Einstein-Rosen bridge." "Who's Rosen?" "A guy who worked with Einstein. They came up with a theory that there was a way to pass from one universe to another. That became known as the Einstein-Rosen bridge." "So there really is more than one universe," said Sarah? "It's not just science fiction?" "Well, we're talking about theory, but yes, it's pretty much accepted that there are other universes, possibly an infinite number of them, and, hang on." "What?" said Sarah. JD pointed in the rearview mirror, and Sarah looked back. Overtaking them was a fast police cruiser, lights flashing. "No," she said. JD, his eyes flicking to the mirror, said, "Okay, I'm the one they really want. If he pulls us over, I'll get out and walk back toward him. You guys get out and run." "Run where? We don't even know where we are." "You're going to have to figure it out. Get ready." Sarah got her backpack off the car floor and held it in her lap. The speeding cruiser was 50 yards back. 20. 10. JD was looking at the steering wheel. His body was tense. The cruiser pulled up next to him. Nobody dared to look over. And then the cruiser passed them. Not slowing at all, it hurtled along the empty highway ahead, disappearing. "Whew, guess he wasn't after us." "Okay," said Sarah, getting back to the story. "If there's more than one universe, where are all the other ones?" "Well, that's the tricky part. It's not a question of physical distance. You can't get to them by flying in a spaceship. No matter how far you went, you'd still be in this universe. So what you need is a wormhole, which is another name for an Einstein-Rosen bridge. Theoretically, these wormholes are a path from one universe to another." "You keep saying theoretically." "Well, right, because nobody's been able to confirm their existence. Also, it's generally accepted that even if wormholes did exist, they wouldn't be stable enough for matter to pass through them. Unless what?" said Sarah. "Unless they were stabilized by some kind of highly exotic matter. currently unknown to science. Star stuff, said Aidan. Yes, said JD. Maybe Einstein figured out a way to use star stuff to create a stable bridge, then send the island through it. A whole island, said Aidan. I don't think so. How would that work, said Sarah. I mean, is there like a tunnel somewhere? And wouldn't it have to be huge to fit an island through it? It wouldn't be a tunnel, at least not what you think of as a physical tunnel. I'm guessing it would be some kind of device which generated let's call it like a force field. I assume the device would have to be portable so it could be transported to the island, presumably by a ship. The Sea Ghost! Exclaimed Sarah. What? Said JD. Hang on, said Sarah, and she unzipped her backpack and dug out her diary. She opened the glove compartment and used the light from the interior and began leafing through the pages. Okay, she said. Whoops. About halfway through the diary, after all the stuff about E creating the bridge, Molly starts talking about it. Okay, here she is, talking about the Sea Ghost. It must be a ship. The expedition must have been transported to the bridge to the island. Okay, said Sarah, flipping through the pages. There are a bunch of entries about the expedition. And then she says, received a telegram today via the radio from the Sea Ghost. One wonderful word, success. We are thrilled, especially E. So it worked, said Aidan. Yeah, said JD. I think they bridged the island. Do you have any idea what this means? If this were published... The car quieted for a moment, then Sarah said, does this mean the island's gone forever? JD thought about it. I suppose it depends. On what? On what they did with the bridge. Does the diary say anything about that? Yep. There's a bunch of stuff in here about keeping the bridge secure. So they didn't destroy it? No, for years they kept it in Berlin. Well, that's where Einstein lives, said JD. Then okay, listen to this. This is from 1933. The situation in Germany has become intolerable. E and his family will emigrate to the United States. We have arranged for the bridge to accompany him, as well as Jay, who will assist in maintaining it. Wait a minute. You're saying the bridge came to the United States with Einstein? That's what it sounds like, said Sarah. And he was accompanied by somebody named Jay? Yeah, why? Okay, listen. I'm named after my grandfather and my father. My grandfather was John. My father was Douglas. JD stands for John Douglas. So what? Said Aidan. So my grandfather, John Astor, came to Princeton from England in 1933. The same year as the J in the diary. That's interesting, but that doesn't mean it's the same person. Do you know where Einstein settled when he came to the United States? No idea, said Sarah. Princeton, said JD. Oh, said Sarah. So wait a minute. Are you saying that bridge thing is in Princeton? I'm saying it's possible that it once was, said JD. Do you think it still could be there? What I think is we have to get back and get in touch with Mac. And that is the end of the chapter. So the Einstein-Rosen bridge is kind of a real theoretical idea of a bridge to a parallel universe. And this is where the authors may or may not lose you based on the science of this idea. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around. But when we're thinking of the bridge to Neverland, we're thinking of a physical bridge to travel across. And what they're talking about is almost more like a portal to a parallel universe and traveling there. So their next goal is going to be to try to figure out how would they theoretically get to the island if it was moved into a parallel universe. All right, and that is the end of Read Aloud.